What is up? It's Scott Tejerian from the Weekly Transit Astrology Podcast here with Samantha Dottin, my supporter here, my partner in the Sports and Astrology Podcast, where we are looking at the chart of Aaron Rodgers, the football superstar, future Hall of Fame quarterback for the New York Jets. We are looking at his chart, dissecting it piece by piece. In the previous two videos, we talked about the sun in Sagittarius, what that means, and then the sun in the 8th house. Let's move on to the moon. Aaron Rodgers was born with the moon in Scorpio in the 7th house. So the moon is easily recognizable because it looks like the moon, but the moon is actually two crescents of receptivity stuck together, symbolizing giving, receiving, teaching, learning at the deepest emotional level. The moon you're able to see in the sky because it's reflecting the light of the sun. Therefore, the light that is emanating off of the moon is literally past light. Therefore, the moon represents your past, your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, and your ancestors. The moon represents the home where you were raised, the home where you live now. It represents what you need to feel fulfilled emotionally and how you respond when you are emotional. When Aaron Rodgers was born, the moon was in Scorpio, the deepest, darkest, most passionate sign that we covered when we were discussing Aaron Rodgers' 8th house, because the 8th house is associated with the 8th sign, which is Scorpio. So as we know, Scorpio is fixed water, ruled by Mars, the god of war, and Pluto, the god of death. Is that intense? I'd say yes. Symbolized by the scorpion, a very intense creature. That creature that exists in the shadows, in the underworld, in the cracks and crevices, in the dark areas that people can't go. That is how deep Aaron Rodgers' emotions are. He is very passionate, very intense, so passionate and intense in his emotional nature that he may even fear sharing his emotions because they are so intense. You know, when I think of the water signs, and I think of, so there's three water signs. There's Cancer, there's Scorpio, there's Pisces. Cancer is like being at the beach. It's fun, it's playful. We're building sandcastles and tossing the beach ball, and then the clouds come in and it's like, oh no, it's gonna rain, or it's cloudy now, and it's moody, it's fun and goofy. And then there's Pisces, which is the ocean, being in the middle of the ocean where you can't see any land. It could be like glass, very flat, or it could be, waves that are 100 feet high. But Scorpio is like walking through a deep, dark, dank forest and coming upon a lagoon, a swamp. And you don't know how, but somehow you end up in the middle of that lagoon or swamp, and you can't feel the bottom beneath you. And you can see the land, and you would rather be on the land than where you are in the middle of the lagoon. But you dare not move, because if you do, you may awaken the monster that lingers deep beneath you. And that's what it's like to be born with the moon in Scorpio, where the emotions are so intense that there's a hidden nature to these emotions. So it also means that Aaron Rodgers may have secrets from his past, his roots, his upbringing, his childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured him, and his ancestors that are very intense, maybe more intense than he would like to reflect upon. And I certainly don't know the status of his relationship with his family at this point in time, but I know in the past there was, talk about how he was estranged from his brothers and his parents. For what reasons, I don't know, but there's obviously a lot there in the past with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a lot with families, right? And especially the first thing that I noticed is that, yes, his moon in Scorpio, but it's also in the 7th house, which is the house of relationships.
Yes.
So it seems as
Yes.
though that would make sense, that maybe that would be an area in his life that's emotional.
Yes. Well, let's get into the house. We'll do that in the next video,
Okay.
where we'll talk about the house placement for Aaron Rodgers and for his moon. The house placement for his moon for Aaron Rodgers in the next
Okay.
video. Thank you,
Sounds
Sam.
good. Absolutely.